And then we get
That
started
was
here. So
amazing
continuing
good.
chapter 2, we're on page 22. Um, Now, I give you guys slides like this. You'll see some screenshots with highlights on them. Just do the highlights without even me having to tell you to do it, you know. But I do have previous slides. Like I think there was a previous slide to this. Let me just check really quick. Okay, no, there wasn't yet. Okay, so this one is just the one where you highlight it, and then the next slide, I'll have actually notes of the same stuff, but maybe a little more detailed explanations. Okay, so this is on page 22. We're just highlighting the what happens if you violate licensing laws or any of the rules or regulations of the Real Estate Commission. Well, they could take actions against your license or they could issue fines. So right now, let's just do the highlights, and then we'll go to the next slide and I'll go over them in a little more detail. Just tell me when everybody's got the highlights, and then we go from there.
I do.
Okay. Now,
Yes.
they also have a little note here that the person filing charges is known as the complainant, and the person investigating is known as the respondent. All right. Okay, so here's the slide that I put together. Has a little more information on it, and same stuff that was on this previous slide, but a little more information. Um, and I give my definitions a little bit better than the book too. Like the book says, okay, the least severe discipline is they could place your license on probation, or they could suspend your license. Suspension. Okay. They don't even define the word. What is suspension? You know, suspension is suspension. Okay, you can't define a word with
Just
itself. You know, it's kind of ridiculous. So I want to just try to give you a little further explanation. You know, probation is a strong warning that you're going to have a close observation by the licensing authority. Suspension is a temporary lifting of the license in which you can't work during that period. And then you have revocation where they could take your license
take it
away.
away.
Now, this could be for a temporary period of time, or it can be for life. So, isn't why wouldn't they just suspend it? Well, because probably something that you did was pretty heavy duty, and like for example, if you have a broker's license, and you did something that was really bad, you know, um, but they're willing to give you the license back after a period of time. What they'll do is to make it sting more is they'll revoke your license for a temporary period of time. And then when you get it back, you may not get back a broker's license. They may give you back the opportunity to get the salesperson's license. And if you wanted to get the broker's license back, you'd have to go take all those classes over and the exams over again. And it's a major pain. So, but that's because you did something really, really, really bad. Okay.
Mm.
So you got probation, suspension, and revocation, which can be for a temporary period of time or it can be for life, depending on what it was that you did. And in addition to that, or separately on its own, they could impose fines. Okay. Well, the fines for violating licensing law are up to $5,000 for a first offense. I mean, first offense doesn't have to be any fine, um,
Mm.
or they could give you a $50 fine, but it's up to a maximum of $5,000 fine for the first offense and up to $10,000 for each subsequent violation. And you could have multiple offenses in a single transaction if you're doing a lot of stuff that's wrong. You know, I'll give you some examples on how they figure this out on the next slide. Um, so, and this is according to 4515. 40, anytime we see 45:15 like this is called the New Jersey Administrative Code. And that is for, I'm sorry, this is the New Jersey statutes. 4515 is the New Jersey statutes. That's the real estate laws that were created by our politicians here in the state. Anytime you see the 11:5, that's the administrative code. Those are additional rules and regulations that the Real Estate Commission, those people that give us our licenses and monitor us and regulate us, that's what their rules are called. 11:5. And it's also called the Administrative Code. All right, so if the transaction that you were working on and where you violated a law was dealing with timeshares, well, there's separate laws that cover timeshares, time sharing. Um, And the minimum fine for violating one of those laws is $250 with a maximum of $50,000 per offense. And these are the statutes that cover the timeshare and subdivided land sales. If you violate the laws pertaining to those things, that's what that fine is. Okay. But generally speaking, on your state exams, they're going to ask you, most likely not ask you about what the fines are for timeshares, but just general violations of licensing law, up to 5,000 for a first offense and up to 10,000 for subsequent offenses. All right. Now, do they just fine you or take actions against your license? No, there's a process to it. They'll send you a 10-day advance notice to attend a hearing in Trenton to listen to any charges and answer any charges that may be brought up on you. So the results can be appealed by the New Jersey Superior Court if you're not happy with them. And your broker can also be disciplined for things that you do wrong if they had guilty knowledge. Because the broker should know what their agents are up to and doing. It's the broker's job to provide guidance and direction to their agents. That's not training. Guidance and direction is making sure you're following the laws and not violating them. Okay. So if you are, and your broker is aware of it and they're doing nothing to stop or prevent that law-breaking activity that you're doing, your broker can be held just as liable. But sometimes you get brokers that say, well, I didn't know. How am I supposed to know what my agent was doing? Well, the real estate commission would then ask the question, should you have known? Right? And if you should have known, well, then you could be held guilty still with guilty knowledge. So it's not enough that the broker just says, oh, I didn't know, so I didn't have knowledge, so how can I be held guilty? Okay.
So
Yeah.
the law said that ignorance is an excuse. So you're
Yeah.
supposed to know.
Yeah. Well, give you an example. I remember there was a broker in Metuchen. I'm not going to go into names or anything. There was a broker, okay? I remember there was a real estate brokerage, and if you look at their roster, they had a lot of agents. They had several hundred agents' licenses hanging in their offices, okay? And one of their agents was doing something wrong. They got in trouble, and they held the broker liable for it as well. And the broker said, how the hell am I supposed to know what my agents are doing? There's so many of them. How am I supposed to keep track of everybody? And then the real estate commission's answer was, well, who told you to sign up so many agents? If you can't handle them all, why are you taking them all? Don't take more than you can handle that you could track and manage. So the excuse that you got too many agents, well, who told you to take on all those agents? That's your problem. We can't limit your business and how many agents you hire. You hire as many as you can handle. And if you can't handle them, well, you're still responsible for them. So they had some agents that were doing things wrong. The broker got in trouble for it. He tried to plead, well, I didn't have knowledge, but that was not good enough in that case. They said, you should have known, though. And you taking on too many agents, that's your problem, not ours. So that's how that worked. Now, with violations, licensees must notify the real estate commission within 30 days of any conviction, indictment, being charged with a crime. Repeat offenders with 3 or more violations can have their licenses revoked for life. And serious offenses may result in the license being suspended until the case is resolved. I mean, you're innocent until proven guilty. However, the real estate commission would be complicit if they allowed you to continue working when you're being brought up on charges for rape or murder or kidnapping or criminal conspiracy, things of this nature. You're innocent until proven guilty, but they can't just allow you to keep having access to people's houses and financial records and all this other stuff, because then if you do it again, they'd be complicit because they allowed you to do it. So they'll suspend your license until there's an outcome to the case.
Mm-hmm.
All right. You have no right to a license, just like a driver's license. It's a privilege, and there's certain conditions in place for you to get that license and to keep it. So once again, here's the Real Estate Commission's disciplinary actions page. I actually have a link to it right here. This is that page on their website where they list anybody who's ever been brought up on charges and found guilty of something, and they got a fine or actions against their licenses. So during this slideshow, I keep bringing up, examples of cases. This is where I get those examples of cases directly from the Real Estate Commission's disciplinary actions page. So if you were to click on that, I'll just show you how this works. You click on that, it takes you here. This is the Real Estate Commission's disciplinary actions page. Yeah, it's not exactly very intuitive. You have to click on each year and let's see what happened this year so far, 2025. Let's see, former licensed real estate broker. Okay, well, former license tells it a lot right there. Commission upheld a 3-year license revocation to this guy. And if you want to read what that's all about, it didn't say. Usually they give more information like this one. Let's see. This guy, what did he do? Union County. For engaging in advertising activities that were false or misleading. For advertising. Remember, we just went over a lot of advertising stuff. And he was engaged in misleading advertisements. He showed unworthiness and competency for engaging in multiple separate acts of real estate activity while having an inactive license as well. Oh, okay, so that's even worse. You're not supposed to be working when you don't have an active license. So the commission upheld a denial of reinstatement of his license, imposing a period of 3 years from the date of issuance. I wonder if that's tied to this guy here. So we could actually click on these final orders, and then you get to read what happened in the case. They show you like case scenarios like this, which is pretty interesting. All right, I don't want to waste your time on it, on going over what this guy did right now. But this is just showing an example of how and where I get a lot of this information from, where I show these screenshots. You got a question?
Yeah,
You
I'm
can just
sorry.
ask. You can just ask because a lot of times I don't see everybody. I don't always have the cameras on my screen. Go ahead, shoot.
Um, First of all, before I forget,
Yeah.
you said the New Jersey statute. Do we have to remember the whole number, like 4515, comma, dash something?
Nothing after that. You just need to know that 45 colon 15
Is a
is the New Jersey statutes. Those are the
okay.
laws, the real estate laws of New Jersey. So anytime it starts with 4515 dash something or other, that's the laws, or they call it the statutes. Sometimes they refer to it as.
That we don't have to remember. That we don't have to remember.
You need to know that. You need to know that.
4515, I know, but how about the next number after 45?
No, you don't have to know after
Yeah,
that.
this-
That's the stuff that I'm actually teaching in this course.
Okay,
You
okay.
don't need to memorize what actual code number goes with what. No.
Oh, I see.
Okay, but we do have them printed in the back of the book. All the way in
Okay.
the back of the book, the real estate laws, the statutes are printed, as well as the rules and regulations of the Real Estate Commission, which we call the Administrative Code, or Title 11, Chapter 5. So
I
11
see.
colon 5, the way we say that is we don't say 11 colon 5, we say Title 11, Chapter 5 of the law. That's actually the Administrative Code, the rules and regulations of the Real Estate Commission, or Title 45, Chapter 15. That's the way
Oh, I see.
we say it. Okay.
Second question. The I see the slides. Where can the first email I got it, the all said Drive, I can see all notes.
Yep. So there's a link there to the shared Google Drive in that email. And if you click on that first link that says shared Google Drive, it takes you to here.
Okay, 1 minute.
Okay.
In the email, very first one, it says slideshow, quiz, math, how to study guide, not that one, right?
That's
Share Google Drive. Oh, got it.
Yep, it's the same email. Yep. So the one that just says shared Google Drive, you click on that link, it takes you right here. And then you can see these folders, slideshows and links used in class. And and chapter quizzes, audio reviews, supplemental materials, which are examples of the forms that I show you in class. There's also here. Let me go in there and show you. It shows all kinds of forms that we actually use in the business, and I show you in class. Sample independent contractor agreements that you sign with your brokers when you sign up for them. See what it looks like. There's a interview question sheet here, which has a bunch of when you're interviewing brokers, questions to ask. And at the beginning of the book too, before the first chapter, there's also some sample interview questions to ask brokers when you're interviewing around too, trying to select a broker to work for. Okay, so let me back up out of this folder. So back to the main folder that this takes you to, the shared Google Drive. If you click on slideshows and links used in class, okay, those slideshows are in this folder, and over here there's a Word document called New Class Links and Notes. It's basically all the notes from all of the slides. I'm putting this together right now as we speak. It's actually together, and I have it up here for you guys to view, but I keep tweaking it a little bit and making changes. It has all the notes that we need from the slideshows, as well as every single link that I show you in this class. Like I just showed you that link on the Real Estate Commission's disciplinary actions page. So if you were to open this up, you'd be able to see that same information there in that shared Google Drive. In fact, let me open up my Word document.
Okay. So right now, whatever the slide we having it, where are you actually? That's the third one, new class link. That's the one.
Yeah, the new class links and notes. Okay, that's that'll basically be this document here. It looks like
Right.
this. It starts off with the email, like the same information I sent you in the emails. Like this is your class and the list of
Yeah.
all your recordings for your class. But
Yeah.
here's some previous classes I've recorded, and then from the
Right.
previous edition book classes.
Right.
Here's that link to that shared Google Drive, like I emailed you. And this supplemental resources of where you could go and get an app to for free to be able to get the flashcards for learning the terminology from Quizlet. Here's some paid resources, ones that you actually have to pay for interactive exams if you prefer them instead of the Word document ones. Here's another resource from another school that offers that as well.
Okay.
And here are some sample exams from the PSI, which they're the testing center the state contracted with. Our social media links, some links that we use in class, some additional information. And if we scroll down enough, let me scroll down here, get past it. Chapter 1 starts.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And then I start giving all these notes a little bit more detailed than even what
Right.
slideshows have, because I could give a little more room here to explain it. And look, it got all the links and explanations for the things that I showed at the beginning, how to register for state exam and fingerprinting. These are all things that we discussed the other day. So I got all this stuff right there. This is all the things that we had there. Now we have explanations. What are the 4 license types? What is a realtor or realtor associate? So it goes through all the stuff for the
Right.
class. Now let me see. We're in chapter 2. So let me just type in chapter. Let me type in chapter 2 here.
Okay.
Skip
So
through our notes here in chapter 2.
I just open it and I just want to stay on the same page where you are. So we are on chapter 3, right?
Okay. No, we're on chapter 2 right now still. On page
Chapter 2.
22. Okay, so let me go back to the slideshow because I'm not teaching from the Word document. I'm just
Okay.
updating that Word document. It's
I
good
see.
tips for you to just study without having to go into each and every
Okay.
different
Okay.
slideshow. Okay.
I see.
Okay,
So, sorry, 1 second. So we
Yeah.
don't have to keep it open, right? The Google Drive, we don't have to keep it open, right?
that's just all the stuff I teach you and I'm showing you on screen. It's available to you there, so you know that
Okay.
where you could get it. You have access to all
Yeah.
that same stuff.
Okay. Okay.
So here with me, you just pay attention to what I say, follow the presentation on screen. And when I
Okay.
get screenshots, you highlight those things in the books and maybe make some notations on pages. And and then that's it. Okay?
Oh, okay, okay.
Because it's important for you to get it up here. Okay. So, yeah, so this is all the stuff you need to know about licensing law right here. The real estate penalties for violation of licensing law. You know, what are the actions the real estate commission can take? There's going to be an exam question on this, of course. You know, they could put your license on probation, they could suspend it, or they could revoke it. Which is the least severe? Probation. Which is the most severe? Revocation. They take your license away. Right?
Right, yeah, that's the most, yeah.
What's the maximum fine they could give you for a first offense?
50,000.
And subsequent violations? $10,000 for each. Okay, so now your broker can be held liable as well if they had guilty knowledge. So what is guilty knowledge? You need to know that terminology. You'll get that on exams. Guilty knowledge is when the broker is aware that one of their licensees or unlicensed assistants are doing something wrong and takes no action to stop or prevent those law-breaking activities. Okay, and if you violate if you get arrested or charged with a crime, what do you need to do? You need to notify the real estate commission within 30 days. Okay. Now, here's some example of that $50,000 fine, because your license can be, you could get a fine of up to $5,000 for a first offense and up to $10,000 for subsequent violations, according to this code. You know, I'm just giving that code information. You don't need to study that. You just need to know what's the minimum fine for a first offense, and then, I'm sorry, what's the maximum fine for a first offense? Up to $5,000, and subsequent violations, $10,000. Okay. And so if there are 5 violations, if you have one transaction with 5 violations, what's the maximum you could be fined? And
50,000, yeah.
it's 45,000. Remember, the first violation is up to 5,000 and each subsequent one is up to 10. So the first one, it would be 5,000, and then each subsequent one, 10,000. That's the maximum you could be fined. Okay.
What is the meaning of subsequent? Sorry to interrupt.
Each instance after.
Okay.
Okay. So that first violation, 5,000, and each subsequent one, each one after that is up to $10,000. Okay. So in this example, you get the $45,000 fine. All right. I think that other agent is having trouble getting it. Or the other student's having trouble getting in. She's calling me. Let me give me 1 second to
yeah, sure.
To walk her through. I'll be right back.
I'm just getting my warm water first.
Sorry there, Raphael, for that.
Just getting my warm water.
No.
Yeah.
No, that was the other girl that's usually in the class. She's having trouble getting in for some reason. All right, let's continue on. So once again, we got all the highlights and notes here that we're just going to do the highlights and take these notes, and then I go to the next slide after it, and then, then we'll get into that. So let's just do the highlights here, then we'll go to the next slide. This talks about the guilty knowledge and stuff in the book. You know, the 10-day advance notice of a hearing, we just had that on the previous slide we were talking about, and now it's talking about guilty knowledge and that your license can be revoked or suspended for certain serious crimes until there's an outcome to the case. Those are things that we just discussed. I had them all on the one slide, the one previous slide. So as you can see, I usually have slides that have a lot of notes that are condensed in one area, just the important stuff you need to know. And then I'll show you the slides with all the highlights that you need to know.
All right, I'm here.
There you go. All right. Yeah. See that you don't need to use that same registration link and answer those questions every time to get into the meeting. You could just use that, just log into Zoom. All right. So let me know when everybody's got these highlights.
I'm done.
Done.
Now, in this section, in this highlight, it looks like one big run-on highlight. It's not. It's two different things. One, they talk about what guilty knowledge is, and the other, they say, what happens to your license if your broker loses theirs or their license is suspended or revoked?
Revoked. That's
You can't even get your license unless you affiliate with a broker who's licensed, right? So if your broker's license is suspended or revoked, any of their agents' licenses are going to be suspended as well, because
wow.
because you need to be licensed, not because the agents did anything wrong, but because you have to be licensed under a sponsoring actively licensed broker.
Mm.
Okay. So we're going to go over what happens then in just a second. So I just changed the slide, and we're going to get into that in more detail in my slide. So I have a little slightly different definition of guilty knowledge here in my slides. I give a little bit better explanations, I think, anyway. It says guilty knowledge is when the broker's aware or should have been aware that one of their licensed or unlicensed assistants is doing something wrong, and they make no attempt to stop or prevent those activities. The broker can be held just as liable as the agent who did whatever was wrong. So that is guilty knowledge. And we already spoke about that a little bit at length this morning. But that's the official definition you should probably study. A little bit better than what you even highlighted. Now, what happens to your license if your broker loses theirs? In that same paragraph, you highlighted something there that said, what did it say? When brokers' licenses are suspended or revoked, their salesperson licenses are suspended until the end of the current license period. During that time, salespeople are free to affiliate with another broker and can obtain a reissued license at no charge. So let me see the notes that I have here. How do mine differ? Let's see. All the agents under the broker will have their licenses suspended because they cannot work unsupervised. Licensees can wait until the broker gets their license back, the broker is replaced with one who's actively licensed, or the agent transfers their license to another company under an actively licensed broker. The REC will waive the fee to reissue or transfer your license to that other broker elsewhere. So you'll get a license reissued to you in the name of that new brokerage firm that you're working for. Okay, so it's the same thing that you highlighted here on the previous, in your book, but I get into a little more detail explaining it, so it's a little bit easier to understand when you're studying. Okay, that's it. Then here's an example of a guy who had his license. Something happened to his license. Let's see. He failed to ensure timely renewal of the brokerage license. Okay, so here's a real estate broker who failed to renew his broker's license in time. When does everybody need to renew their license by? June 30th of odd years. Odd numbered years. Everybody needs to get their license renewed by June 30th of odd numbered years. It doesn't matter when you get your license, everybody's license renews at the same time. June 30th, odd numbered years. Now, he failed to renew his brokerage license by then. However, his agents continued working. So because of that, he got into trouble because he failed as a broker of record to ensure that individual licensees licensed through his company did not engage in brokerage services during the time when the brokerage license was not active. He agreed to pay a fine of $5,000. Okay. I mean, that's a basic, simple part of competence, right? A broker, you need to maintain your license. It's like you can't drive a car without a license, right? Okay, so here are now this is like the end of chapter 2 here. This is just showing you a list of all the different things that agents can, well, I don't want to say it's comprehensive. Who knows? People come up with new creative ideas every way to violate the law. But here's a list of all kinds of things that you could violate in the law and rules and regulations of the Real Estate Commission and get sanctions against your license or be fined. So let's just go over. Some of them we've gone over already. Some of them we have not. So making false promises or substantial misrepresentations. Okay, so stick to the truth and don't tell people, oh, your property value is sure to go up 10% next year. How would you know that, right? That's stick to the facts. Acting for more than one party in a transaction without knowledge of all parties thereof. We call that undisclosed dual agency. There's nothing wrong with representing both parties in the transaction, the buyer and the seller, as long as they're aware that you're representing both parties. So you need to get that in writing. So undisclosed dual agency. Pursuing a flagrant and continued course of misrepresentation or making false promises. Yeah, your property value is sure to go up 10% in the next year. Failure to account for or pay money belonging to others. Quick way to lose your license. Lawyers lose their licenses this way. Real estate agents can as well. If you mess around with other people's money, quickest way to lose your license. So when your clients give you money, what do you got to do with it? You immediately give it to the broker. And the broker has how long to put it in the escrow account? 5 business days. 5 business days from the time that you got it from your client. Conduct demonstrating unworthiness, incompetency, dishonesty or bad faith. Well, I just showed you an example of a broker who was kind of incompetent. He didn't renew his own brokerage license, so you got a fine for that. Failure to provide a client with a copy of a contract at the time of signing, or failing to specify an expiration date on a listing agreement. So anytime we sign any kind of contract with somebody, we need to give them a duplicate original of that contract immediately. Using a lottery, contest, game, prize, or drawing to promote the sale of real estate. You're not allowed to do that in New Jersey. Can't sell properties with lotteries. Being convicted of a crime of which the commission does not have knowledge. We just went over that. Hey, if you are just arrested or accused of a crime, you got to notify the Real Estate Commission within 30 days. So it gets to the point that you got convicted and they don't have knowledge about it. Well, that's a violation of the licensing law there. And the Rex rules. So collecting a commission as a broker in a transaction while simultaneously representing either party in a different capacity for consideration. Consideration is something of value. For instance, acting as an attorney and a broker at the same time for the same transaction. A little conflict of interest there, right? Using any trade name or insignia of a real estate organization, if you're not a member of it. Paying any compensation or commission to an unlicensed person, except in some circumstances to a buyer. That's when we pay out buyers' rebates. So let's just do a little recap here, guys. Who can you pay?
Broker?
You cannot pay anybody. Who can you be paid by?
Paying any company.
Broker. You can only receive a commission. You can only be paid by your own broker. Who can you pay? Nobody. Only the broker can pay people. Okay, they pay their agents, or they pay another broker when they pay out a referral fee, or we pay out a rebate to a buyer, which is a direct deduction from our commission at closing. So we're actually not paying them directly. That money's pulled out of our commission before we ever see it by whoever the closing agent is on the sale. So understanding that concept will probably get you a question right on an exam. Any other conduct constituting fraud or dishonest dealing. As a salesperson or broker salesperson, accepting a commission or valuable consideration from anyone except your broker. I just asked you, who can you be paid by? Only your
Okay.
broker. And if you keep that basic, simple question in your head, that you ask yourself, who can I be paid by? So if you get a question on exam that's some kind of long-winded scenario that they paint out, and it's asking about, you getting paid by somebody, just ask yourself a question about the question. Who can I get paid by? Only my broker. So now let's look at this question again and what the answer options are that they give us. The only one you select is only my broker. You could only be paid by your broker. And so if you stick to the basics and you learn the basics here, it doesn't matter how they ask the questions, you should be able to get them right. Often on exams, people make things more confusing than they need to be. Okay. They try listening and spelling out scenarios and all that. And I tell you guys all the time, just ask yourself a question about the question. And you should recall the basic knowledge that I taught you, and then you should be able to answer it right away. Don't get confused and don't get tied up in the long-winded, worded, complicated scenario that they make up for you. All right. Procuring a real estate license through fraud or deceit. Yeah, that'll have an action against your license for sure. All right. So here's a guy that he misrepresented. He got his license by misrepresenting or using deceit because he was not honest about that he was behind on his court-ordered child support payments. So because of that, they suspended his license until he gets caught up on his child support, and he had to pay a $1,500 fine. Because they do ask these qualifying questions for you at the time that you're taking the state exam. You have to answer those qualifying questions, and they ask them to you every time you renew your license too. So if any of those things end up being untruthful, well, that's a reason to take away your license or suspend it and fine you. All right, let's continue here with these. Commingling the licensee's own money with that of the clients or customers, or failure to maintain and properly deposit other people's money in that escrow or trust account. Remember, escrow or trust account is a bank account where we keep other people's money in, and only other people's money. Your broker is the one that manages that bank account. So when your clients give you money, what do you got to do with it? Immediately give it to your broker. And then your broker has how long to put it in the escrow account?
5 days.
5 days.
5 days. 5 days.
5 days, 5 business days from the time you received it, not from the time that they got it from you. Okay. So if you held on to that check or money that your clients gave you for a couple of days to see if the offer gets accepted first, and now it's already past the 5 days, both you and your broker can get in trouble for this. Okay. You're supposed to immediately give it to your broker, and then your broker has to do their bookkeeping, and then they go to the bank and they make the deposit all within 5 days. So, I mean, if you wait even 4 days and then the last day you give it to the broker, now your broker's like, well, why'd you hold on to it for so long? Now I got 1 day that I got to do all the record keeping, and then I got to run out to the bank now, do the deposits, and you're putting a burden on me, especially you being only one agent. If all my agents start doing this, waiting till the last second, the broker's always going to be like having to handle emergency business last second. So make sure that your clients give you a check or money, you immediately give it to the broker. Okay. Selling property in which the licensee has an interest without disclosing in the contract of sale that interest. And the fact that the seller is a licensed real estate salesperson or broker. Okay, this became such an issue that agents don't do this so often that our standard sales contracts that we usually use that are provided for us by New Jersey Association of Realtors, they actually added it as a checkbox now on the contracts. So it's actually one of the things that's already written into the contract. You got to check yes or no. You know, are you as a licensee involved and have an interest in this transaction? And what kind of license do you hold? You know, so that's all. That's all it has to have. Buying a property without disclosing the contract of sale that the buyer is a licensed real estate salesperson or broker.
Buying property.
Now, the previous one was also talking about your interest, not just the fact if you're licensed or not. So, in other words, if you're helping your brother or sister or your mother or your father sell or buy a house, there's a personal interest there. You need to disclose that on the contract. You know, the fact that you are a licensed real estate agent with ABC Realty and the client is your mother. You know, that's it. There's nothing wrong with that. You're not risking their negotiation stance or anything by disclosing that. But by not disclosing it, you're violating the law. You have to disclose the interest that you may have. Or I'm buying the property for myself as an investment. Boom. And I'm a licensed real estate broker with ABC Realty. You know, by you simply disclosing that, you're required to. But if you don't disclose that, and that person can later on turn around and sue you. Why? Because you didn't do something you were supposed to do. But I didn't do anything wrong otherwise. Well, it doesn't matter. You were supposed to disclose that, and because you didn't disclose that, now you're going to lose a lawsuit. You know, so make sure you always disclose. Nothing wrong with disclosing things unless you have something to hide.
Buy with the license.
Okay. Violating any of the rules or regulations on rental practices, or failure to notify highlight this one, failure to notify the real estate commission within 30 days of your conviction, indictment, or being charged with a crime, or the suspension or revocation of a real estate license issued by another state, or initiation of any disciplinary proceedings. Violating any of the previous items mentioned in the administrative code, or if a licensee is guilty of a third violation of any of the listed articles above, the person may be considered a repeat offender, and they can have their license revoked for life and denied ever getting a real estate license back. So, 3 or more violations, you could be deemed a repeat offender, and they could they could be minor things. But you keep doing it over and over again, and the real estate commission keeps warning you and fining you, and it doesn't seem like you really give a crap. They'll be like, you know what? We're not dealing with it. We're taking away your license. You're not getting it back. Now, on more serious things, you know, you could have your license revoked for life with 1 violation. So you don't have to have 3 violations in order to lose your license for life. It could be 1 thing if you do 1 really bad thing. You know, depends on what it is. They're just saying repeat offenders, which doesn't have to be serious stuff. It could be minor stuff that they just keep catching you doing wrong, and seems like you just don't give a crap, and you're going to do things your own way. Well, they'll be like, yeah, you know what? I don't think so. We're taking your license away. Okay. So once again, here's that slide. If you didn't get it before, it may not be a bad idea to get a screenshot of it. You know, take a screenshot with your snippet tool or take a picture of it with your camera. This is a good note to have. Even though I do have this on the slideshows, and you guys have access to the slideshows, and you have access to that class links and notes Word document that has all the same information in it, it's not bad to take a screenshot of the important stuff. You know, every time I tell you guys, hey, take a screenshot of this, take a screenshot of that, you know, it's not a bad idea to do it. Here's some good notes in one place. All right, and that concludes chapter 2. Yay! All right, so let me pull out my book. So chapter 2, at the end of each chapter, we have some key terms to review, and then there's some unit review questions. I do not go over the review questions with you. You guys can do them in your own time to study. I like to go over the key terms with you guys in class. You guys could do the review questions on your own, The answers are in the back of the book on page 617, if you want to make note of that. All the chapter review answers are on page 617. And if you go through the questions and you're not sure how they came up with an answer because you're doing these studies on your own, you could ask me the next day and we could go over those questions and I'll work them through with you. I know there's a couple of them that the book has wrong. Okay. So it's good if you could catch that because that means that you're studying and paying attention. All right. So let's do this. Page 25, key terms to review. I read out the phrase on the right-hand side of the page. You guys are going to shout out what you think the correct corresponding answer to it is on the left-hand side. There's no penalties for wrong answers, so shout them out as you get them. But think about it for a second. Don't just shout out random stuff, okay? Broker's additional place of business.
Branch office.
Branch
One is A.
office.
It's a branch office. One is A, the branch office. Least severe discipline by the real estate commission.
Probation.
Probation. 6 is B. Place for money belonging to clients and customers.
Escrow account.
Yeah, we keep their money in an escrow or trust account.
Escrow.
Correct. 4 is C.
Copy.
Copy of a real estate contract with the original signatures.
Duplicate original.
A
Yeah.
duplicate original. 3 is
Yeah.
D. Awareness of wrongdoing with no attempt to stop it.
Guilty knowledge.
Yeah, the broker had guilty knowledge. 5 is E. Mixing broker's money with that of others.
Commingling.
Commingling. So when the broker mixes their own money in the escrow account with the client's money, they're not supposed to do that. That's commingling. So 2 is F. Cancellation of a real estate license.
Revocation.
Suspense.
It's revocation. 7 is G. They revoked your license. 7 is G. Temporary lifting of a real estate license.
Suspension.
8 is H. Suspension. Another name for an escrow account.
Trust account.
Trust account. 9 is I. And form sellers must sign if they do not want the broker to offer cooperation to any other broker.
Waiver broker
Waiver.
cooperation.
Waiver.
10 is J, the waiver of broker cooperation. So the waiver of broker cooperation, anytime we get a listing, we must put it in the MLS to share it with other brokers. The Real Estate Commission rules require us to share that listing inventory with other brokers, unless the owner, and the owner is the only person who could direct us not to. Then we need to cover our butts to get them to sign a waiver of broker cooperation form because we're supposed to cooperate with other brokers. So we need that in writing that they're the ones that directed us not to, and then it's okay. All right, now let's start another large and important chapter, chapter 3. So we just concluded chapter 1, so let me stop the recording on that.